Recording.
I've just had an email. I can tell you later.
Okay, Hazel.
Pnawn da, good afternoon everybody. A diolch i chi am ymuno ni i glywed ychydig fwy am cynllun grant newydd i Geredigion, cynllun grant newydd CAVO, Mannau Gwyrdd. So yes, good afternoon and thank you for joining us to hear a little more about a brand new Ceredigion grant scheme, a new CAVO grant scheme called Green Spaces. So very, very simple. Funding to grow green spaces across Ceredigion. So we have up to £2,000, so it's a small grant scheme, to look at wildlife creation, looking at improving biodiversity, recreation, and growing spaces as well in Ceredigion. Felly, digon o amrywiaeth o bethau i wneud i datblygu mannau gwyrdd yn y sir. We'll be particularly interested in projects that look at working with families and encouraging families to get involved in local green spaces. Um, uh, Projects that improve the mental health of those in the community and encourage people to give their time and volunteer, and opportunities for all ages in communities to connect around their local green spaces. Felly, i ni'n awyddus iawn i weld ceisiadau sy'n edrych ar dod â teuluoedd at ei gilydd yn meysydd gwyrdd, gwella iechyd meddwl, rhoi'r cyfleoedd i bobl i wirfoddoli yn eu cymunedau, a hefyd i ddod â pobl o bob oedran at ei gilydd i gysylltu o amgylch y mannau gwyrdd ar draws y sir. Fel o'n i'n gweud, 2,000 o bunnau ar gael ar gyfer adnoddau, hyfforddiant, gweithgareddau. So £2,000, maximum of £2,000 for any resources, equipment that might be needed, any training that members of the community might need. But we would also be quite open to communities celebrating their green spaces as well, and celebrating the efforts of community members to maintain and grow green spaces. So, in terms of the process, funding scheme has just launched. Rebecca will go through the application process. Closing date at the end of this month, 31st of March. And during April, the panel will be meeting, and discussions will be made in the hope that projects will be in a position to start from the beginning of May. So that's our timeline. Felly'r amserlen, dyddiad cau, diwedd y mis ar diwedd mis Mawrth. A wedyn fydd mis Ebrill wedyn yn cael ei defnyddio. Fydd y panel yn cwrdd a fydd mis Ebrill yn cael ei ddefnyddio i wneud penderfyniadau ac i gysylltu ar sawl sydd wedi wneud ceisiadau. A ni'n gobeithio fydd prosiect yn cychwyn ar y cyntaf o fis Mai. Felly, na'r proses yn gyflym iawn. That's the process in a nutshell. So now Rebecca will say a little bit more about the application form itself.
Thank you. Diolch, Hazel. So I'll take you through where to find the application form, where to find the details about the grant itself. So you can actually view the information on our Connect Ceredigion website. So this is our Green Spaces page. It's the grant page, so it has a timeline on there, and I'm hoping you can all see that quite clearly. And it's got also the apply button here. Now, what we're also going to be putting on here and updating as we go through will be some useful resources. So we've already got a few on here about Salvation Army's Get Growing Guide, British Science Week. They've got some guides on there for community activities that can include science, outdoors and growing. and there's a lot of things for families on there. And the Keep Wales Tidy, Local Places for Nature. So there's lots of resources on here, but there's also the grant scheme. And that is something that you can use for match funding potentially, but also for resources. So you can get the actual planters, raised beds, seeds, all sorts of things through that. So it's a good one to partner with the Green Spaces grant that we've got going. And then we've got the events that are going on in the green spaces. So as we get the grants out, these will be updated then with the green spaces that we've funded, as well as everything else that's going on in the green spaces in Ceredigion as they get listed. So that's the grant page. So we'll go through the application form. So all you need to do, click the button, apply now, take you to the application form. It's quite a straightforward application form, we think, hopefully for you. It goes through what we're looking to fund, what the projects are meant to be doing around the green space, which is what Hazel has already gone through. The timeline, so as Hazel said, 31st of this month is when the application needs to be in by. The projects will need to start by the 1st of May, and we're looking for them to end by the 31st of October, so it's quite a short timeline, so they're not going to be extended long-term projects. And then the monitoring will need to be in by sort of mid-November at the latest, ideally. We will be asking people to promote the activities on Connect, which is what I've just showed you, and I'll go into a bit more detail about that afterwards. So straightforward with details about the group, the organisation, name, contact details, email address, the address for the group. That might be different from where the green space is, might not, but that needs to be the address for the group, so where we would contact you. So the project idea, what do you want us to fund, basically? Who's on your team? So does that include staff, volunteers? Is it existing volunteers, or will you be recruiting new volunteers? So there's things that you might need to think about before actually completing the application form. What tick boxes, what best describes your project? You can tick more than one if you're going to be doing more than one of those things. The impact. So what are you looking to? What's the effect you're looking to have with the project? What do you want to happen because of it? And how are you going to monitor it? What are you looking for to change? Are you going to do a sort of questionnaire before or after? Is it something that's going to be ongoing throughout? Just to have a little think about that as well before completing the application form, because it is something we do need to report back on, and we'd like to hear back from you so that we can actually measure any impacts. So the amount of funding, as Hazel said, it's maximum of 2,000. Ideally, go for the max, do the project to its fullest extent. If you don't need it, that's fine. You don't have to apply for it, but most projects probably will be looking for the maximum. And then the breakdown of the costs. So, you might be doing, as Hazel said, 1,000 on a celebration of the project at the end, but then 1,000 might be for the actual project materials to do the garden up to date, the green space, something like that. So you might have split costs. Match funding. So I've already mentioned Keep Wales Tidy, Local Places for Nature. You might decide that you actually are doing a bigger project, and with the match funding that you can get from us and from another fund, you're putting it all into one project. You don't have to. We can fund 100% of the project costs, but if you are looking at something bigger, let us know, because it's nice that we know if we're a part of that something larger than just the 2,000. What's going to happen to the green space afterwards? Is it going to be maintained? Is that something that your volunteers are going to be taking on? Is it something that you're going to put out to the wider community? Is another group going to come on board? What's the future? How is that going to be maintained? Are you going to be looking for extra grant funding in the future? Give us an idea about the sort of schedule, the repairs, anything like that. We've got the checklist for the documents. We won't need all of these, but it's good practice if you've got them to hand anyway, just in case we do ask. And then we want pictures. So ideally, we want pictures, well, not ideally, we would like pictures before. So your green space as it is now, even if it's just a flat expanse of grass, brambles, what does it look like now? And then we can see the effect of what you've done afterwards as well. And that can be sent in by email to us. And then finally, just to confirm that you're actually authorised to submit the application form. Make sure that it's not just you doing it. It is a community effort. not just one person that's doing it. Even if it's a new group, that's absolutely fine. We will consider new groups that are doing it. The only thing that new groups would have to consider is bank accounts, and come and have a word with us, talk to us about it, how it would logistically work. But yeah, as long as it's community effort, then that's absolutely fine, and send it in to us, submit the form. The next thing that I want to mention is that we are looking beyond the grant to what's going to happen with the green spaces afterwards. It mentions it a little bit in the application form. But as a result of that, we are creating a green spaces network on Connect Ceredigion. So it's an opportunity for those groups that do have a green space or are developing a green space to come together and find out what each other are doing, get some good practice, possibly even look at some collaborative applications for grant funding, or sharing volunteers. There's lots of scope for what they can do together. And that will be something that will be going forward, that will be maintained. If there is interest, then we might develop it further and look at meetings, things like that. But at the moment, it's there for the green spaces to use as they see fit. We'll be updating any new funding opportunities and things like that in that network as well. Right. And that's it from me.
Diolch, Rebecca, thank you. I ni wedi trial cadw'r proses mor syml ag sy'n bosib. We have tried to keep the process as simple as possible, so as many communities can benefit. And as Rebecca rightly said, we can cover 100% of costs, but it's always great, isn't it, when a small grant goes a little bit further. So remember to consider maybe the time that your volunteers will be putting in, anything that the local community, any businesses might be donating as part of the project. Think big. Although it's a small grant, I think the message is think big. We want to make a really big impact. I ni wir isie neud gwahaniaeth. Felly, dyna'r grant. That's the grant. And we very much look forward to receiving your applications. And if you've got absolutely any queries, then please get in touch, and please read through all the information and all the case studies and all the really useful supporting documents on Connect Ceredigion. Felly, newch defnydd da o Cyswllt Ceredigion, os bod na unrhyw beth, wedyn cysylltwch â ni. Dyddiad cau eto diwedd y mis. Closing date again. Quick reminder is at the very end of this month on the 31st. But we really do look forward to receiving your applications. Ni'n edrych mlaen i derbyn eich ceisiadau. Diolch yn fawr iawn. Thank you.